you. Thank you for having me. Allow me to begin, which is customary, I guess. Thanking the hosts, thanking CAI for putting it all together, and most importantly, thanking all the attendees who have dedicated and put aside some time expecting to receive value. So let's make sure that your expectations are met and that you're not disappointed. As I begin the presentation, there's one comment I want to say about ground rules, so to speak, and that is that there aren't any. Whenever I speak in person, I generally like to have presentations be interactive, engaging, and I like to exchange ideas and thoughts and experiences with people in the audience. When we're doing this digitally through a webinar, I know that it's somewhat more challenging to accomplish that, but if you have any questions throughout the presentation that you want to ask or comments you want to make at that time, please feel free. Otherwise, there will be a Q&A session at the end, which generally, in my experience, has been the most valuable one. So, how to lead people, right? It is important to first understand that as leaders, we, or those who aspire to be in leadership positions, are entrusted with a great deal of responsibility. And we need to be very thoughtful and careful as to how do we proceed, because we have direct impacts over lives of so many people who work with us. We need to be very careful and thoughtful of how we engage them and how do we help them contribute, grow, advance, and ultimately succeed, not only within our own organizations, but elsewhere if needed. Another aspect that is critical to leading people effectively is passion. And while that varies across cultures, and I've worked and presented in dozens of countries across the world, and it varies certainly based on the cultural norms, passion and motivation is extremely important in leading people and getting them to move forward. Getting people to believe in themselves and then believe in the mission of the entire organization and therefore do whatever needs to be done to achieve the overall strategic, long-term, and more immediate goals. If anybody who doesn't believe me that motivation matters a lot, I mean, look at people like Tony Robbins, right? People who have built their entire empires out of being motivational speakers. People yearn for leaders, for those who will get them excited about going into work, a place where they put in 40, 50, 60 hours a week. So that is extremely important. Another important aspect is collaboration. It is important to engage people and have everybody work together in making decisions. Leadership is about getting consensus, leading people down a particular path, having them buy into why are we going where we're going. It is not about dictatorship. It is not about, and I know a lot of people, out of 100+ people in attendance right now, at least some of us have experienced so-called leaders who at one point in our careers have told us, we're doing this because I'm the boss and I said so, right? And we all know that doesn't work. Long-term, maybe immediately, but long-term, that's never the solution. So it's about engaging people, it's about collaboration, getting them involved as we move forward together. Furthermore, it is very, very important for leaders to have integrity, to be flexible in their methods and deliveries, right? You be very focused on your ultimate goal, on your vision of how do you want to get there, but be flexible when it comes to roads you'll take to arrive to that destination. It is also very important to be open-minded and allow people, encourage people to provide thoughts and ideas, no matter who they might be or where they are in the organizational structure or a chart. Because leadership and ideas do not come from top down. They come from any angle, any position, even if it's an intern who started a week ago. He or she might have an idea, might have a different experience that could help transform the business as a whole. Because if you're only waiting for ideas and leadership actions to come from the very top and come down the organizational structure, In some instances, it is very sad to say, but it's true. In some instances, in some cases, you will end up waiting a very long time. Why I mention integrity. As leaders, people look at us, or those who want to be leaders, or those of us who are looking at other leaders ahead of us. It is really important how we behave. What do we do? How do we act? Because people in our organizations observe us. They look at us, whether we're aware of that or not at the moment. They look at what we do and how do we lead by example. Let's talk about people, right? Name of the presentation is How to Lead People. And in order to lead people, it is extremely important to understand what are their needs. What drives someone? And that differs. For some people, right, it's money, it's title, it's corner office, it's that bonus. For others, it's the impact, it's the influence. It's being able to contribute at higher levels. For the third group of people, it's neither of those two things. It's flexibility. It's the fact that they are able to come in a little bit later because they have child care concerns in the morning, or the other way around, to leave a little bit early in the afternoon because of things that they need to do to attend to their families, parents, grandparents, and so forth. It is important to understand what the needs are and then effectively position tactics and strategies in place to get the most out of each employee while also providing them equally as much. Most people want to be understood. They want the flexibility. And the reason why I list the flexibility is first, we talk about, we hear about millennials, right? A term I don't like to use, but millennials all the time. If you look at academic literature and research, if you look at any of these polls across C-suites or the actual millennial population, the number one thing that millennials want, or younger folks who are entering our workplaces or have entered our workplaces, is flexibility, right? A lot of folks don't understand why everybody has to be in the same office at the same time. Depends on the job, depends on the position. Sometimes it makes sense, and at other times it doesn't. I attended a seminar not that long ago in New York City, and this gentleman who spoke as a closing keynote was known as a somewhat of a visionary, and he frequently publishes a number of large publications. And one of the things he said, he goes, at one point in our lives, maybe decades from now, people will sit there and ask us and say, hold on a second, let me understand this. All of you got up at the same time? All of you drove and were stuck in traffic for 30 minutes to an hour or longer to sit at a desk, and then all of you got up at the same time to do it all over again in the afternoon? Why? So it's important to challenge how businesses are run. And just because something has been a tradition for a very long time, it does not necessarily mean that it is a tradition that you should continue implementing for years to come. People want to be supported. That's self-evident. People want to be heard. Even if you may not, as a leader, be able to implement their thoughts and ideas, you have to find ways to hear people out and listen what their needs are, listen to their ideas, encourage them to get involved across the organizations, in meetings, and so forth. People also, obviously, this goes beyond today's people. This goes, back to when we had to fight saber-toothed tigers, and that is safety and belonging. People want to know that they're part of something bigger, larger than themselves. They want to feel safe in a place where they spend at least a third of their day, at least 5 days a week on average, right? And these things, when it comes to understanding flexibility, support, safety, and belonging, they apply to all people. All the ones I know in the last 20 years of my professional experience. When it comes further down, when you go into challenges and opportunities, that applies to most people, not all. But most people want to be challenged. They want to be given opportunities to grow, advance. Some don't, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Perhaps someone only has another 2 years in their career and they're retiring and writing off